So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our roundtable titled AI in Language Education and Translation, Challenges, Innovations, and Future Direction. The aim of this session is to reflect together on how AI is reshaping the fields of language education and translation, the opportunities it creates, the challenges it poses, and the direction ahead, right? So it's a pleasure for me to introduce our distinguished panelists here today. Dr. Selami Aydin is a professor in the Department of English Language Teaching in Istanbul, Medeniyet University. He focuses on the psychological and technological dimensions of language education. His research examines affect, emotion, and technologies in developing basic language skills. Then Dr. Giselle Spiteri is a tenured senior lecturer in the Department of Translation, Terminology, and Interpreting Studies at the University of Malta. She introduced audiovisual translation and media accessibility as a new area of study in her university. And she's also a professional audiovisual translator and adapter media content. And then Dr. Ramon Calvo is a senior lecturer at our university, University of Alicante, and his work explores the use of video games and digital technologies for teaching, translation, and language learning. So let's begin with Dr. Aydin, who will open the session by sharing his perspectives on the transformative role of AI in language education. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again. I'm happy to see you again. I have a concise and brief presentation. However, in the morning, in the previous session, actually, we listened to our lecture, and some parts may be repetitious, and for this reason, I will skip some of the pages, and I will try to focus on some core issues. So actually, the foundation of language teaching, foreign language teachers must understand language teaching, learning, acquisition process, etc. So as a language teacher, as academics, as practitioners, as researchers, actually we are in the all aware of our responsibilities. On the other hand, there is a digital evaluation. In this stage, language teaching today closely and directly relates to digital technologies, so it is quite important in our field. Knowing the theoretical aspects of language teaching and learning, and knowing how to use technology in our classes, in our classroom practices, seem important. So a very brief chronological background of artificial intelligence. During 1950s, Turing's foundation, Alan Turing's seminal work on machine intelligence laid the groundwork for AI development. This was just an idea. However, in terms of cognitive comparisons, some early studies appeared. These studies focused on the comparison of machine design and human cognition processes. And then the Dartmouth project, this project proposed that learning and intelligence could be simulated computationally. And finally, in our time, machine learning algorithms enable classification, prediction, and decision-making based on large data sets and large language models. So actually, this is the most important page in my presentation. Do you have a watch on your wrist? If you have, will you please raise your hand? Most of us. So, how many times a day do you talk about your wristwatch? It is quite technological. It is used to manage our time. We plan everything in accordance with our watch. But why don't we talk about our wristwatches? That is because it is normal. It is a technological tool, and it is invisible in our life. So for days, this is the second day, and the following day, and the next day, we will talk about artificial intelligence. Why? That is because it is something new, and it is not normal. So the first criterion is that if a technology is really technology, it should be invisible in our lives, such as our watches, such as Gmail, such as our computers, etc. These are quite normal things, and they're all invisible in our life. Invisibility is the first criterion. And secondly, let me give another example. My mother lives in the east of Turkey. It is around 3,000 kilometers away. So I would like to talk to my mother, and for this, there are several options. First, I can walk from Alicante to Turkey by walking and meet my mother, and I talk to her. But this is quite problematic. That is because it takes nearly months to walk from here to there. Instead, I use planes, a technological device again, and I use a plane, and I arrive about 3 or 5 hours, and then I meet my mother. Or I can use my telephone. I can use my WhatsApp account, and I can call her, and I can see her face, and I can talk to her. So the second criterion is that technology should solve a concrete and real problem. If it does not solve any problem, it is not technology, it is something fantastic. And printing press was the most important event in human history indeed. But in terms of language learning, or before printing press, we had classes, we had language classes, we were teaching Latin language or other languages. At this stage, there was only one book in the classroom. Teacher used to open the book, read aloud the book, and students used to listen it, and they used to aim to learn new things. But after printing press, students also had books. And at this stage, there was no need to read aloud. That is because, for example, there are 30 students in the classroom, and if they all read aloud, it would be a chaos. Instead, they preferred silent reading. And after printing machine, we encountered a new concept. It is silent reading. If we were researchers or teachers at that time, we would compare the similarities or differences between silent reading and reading aloud. However, today we do not discuss this. It is normal, and in this way, as researchers, for example, we could investigate the effect of silent reading on our motivation, or the effect of reading aloud on our anxiety levels, etc. However, we do not discuss these issues. So it means that it was a revolutionary act, the appearance of silent reading, and today we are discussing the appearance of artificial intelligence. Actually, they're not the same things, but similar things. Today, we will maybe for a few years we will discuss artificial intelligence, and one day we will forget everything we discussed, and it will be something that solves our problems and something which is invisible and something is useful. I think this is the key point for me.
If I may, I think that's a very, very good point. And I was actually thinking about this sort of like revolution and sort of like this necessity that makes the creation of new technology. And I think I couldn't agree more on that. So like, I mean, technology as being just like born out of necessity, as you were saying. And
yes.
I do like the example that you use about like wristwatches. Like we look at them every single day. I was thinking, and I was about to say, yeah, because we look at them every day, so we know.
Every day we look, but we never talk about it.
Yeah, that's true. But then if there's like a creation, if there's something new, just like this, just like this. And I was thinking of two things, and I don't know if like some people know the meme or just like those videos, because I was thinking of two things. First was the idiom, like necessity is a mother of invention and therefore technology. And also that one, I don't know if you've seen those videos, that something like creation goes and they go, technologia. I don't know if you've seen that or those videos.
Yes. And one day, actually, we will forget all our discussions. We will never talk about artificial intelligence, but it will be an invisible and significant part of our life. Not in education, in medical operation, by selling or trading in stock markets, for example, or in economy, in medical, etc. All fields will use artificial intelligence one day, and they will never talk, nobody will talk about artificial intelligence. And intelligence, it has three dimensions indeed. This information is repetitious. However, I will try to introduce using one sentence for each. It generates meaningful, content-sensitive output, and we know all these facets. Versatility, in terms of foreign language learning and teaching, artificial intelligence can generate vocabulary lists, can produce grammar exercises, reading pass, etc. And it fosters interactive learning environments where students practice with AI while teachers receive professional support for material refinement and lesson design. And some more details about them. Intelligence should be context sensitive. The systems demonstrate grammatical structures, for example. We can find antonyms, synonyms, and we can make paraphrases, and we can clarify some complex linguistic ideas. And then teachers can leverage AI to provide extensive examples that would be time-consuming to generate manually by ensuring students receive varied exposure to target language patterns. And these are the second item, versatility. It has three dimensions: instant materials, dynamic response, and inclusive design. You can find the examples, for example, regarding inclusion. It can make classrooms more inclusive and differentiated by tailoring content to diverse learning needs and instructional goals. It has certain advantages, certain opportunities. And a collaborative learning environment, actually, it fosters collaboration between machines and learners by providing interactive opportunities in terms of basic language skills, receiving feedback or giving feedback, etc. And it has certain limitations. Again, this information is also repetitious. That is because this was discussed in the previous round of speech. Accuracy concerns. For example, when you ask AI, what are the basic skills in English language teaching and learning? It says listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And you ask another prompt, what about grammar and vocabulary? It says grammar and vocabulary, these are also language skills. But you say listening may not be a language skill. Says you're right, listening is not a language skill.
Yeah, like it typically, I don't know if you have the same impression, but just like whatever you ask, especially just like with the first models, it's like very just like it feels like you have a servant, just like whatever you ask it.
Assistant.
Like,
I mean,
Assistant.
yes, it should be our
More than
assistant.
that.
It is not our teacher. Yes, we mentioned individualized learning, personalized learning. On the other hand, we should use as an assistant. For example, yesterday the lecturer said that she used AI for creating graphs. Actually, for example, in a scale development study, I created a scale and I submitted the article, and I received some review from the referee. It said, you say that there is 3 factors in your scale, but according to figure, it has 4 factors. I even didn't notice it. And then I removed it from my paper. And inaccurate content, inappropriate cultural content. Another problem is probability-based output. You can direct it, you can mislead artificial intelligence. And finally, uniformity may constitute a risk. And that is because teachers have certain responsibilities. Actually, as we said, artificial intelligence tools or environments are not our teachers, but they are our assistants. For example, when we write a paragraph, we can say that you can add some signal words or transition words to my paragraph. That is it. And the more the goal is to harness the capabilities of AI while maintaining the quality and authenticity that effective language teaching requires. We could underline the word's quality and authenticity. That is because artificial intelligence also can produce an artificial language at the same time. And it is not natural, it is not contextual, it is not real, and it is not authentic.
And I think you can actually notice. If you don't post edits, I don't know what you think yourself, but like do you post edit when you? Yeah, so like if you don't post edit the whole thing, is it like it looks a bit that it's been created, as you're saying? So
yes,
it's our responsibility to.
And to add some ethical considerations, academic integrity. Academic integrity may constitute a serious problem. That is because the students produce their texts using artificial intelligence, but the texts were not produced by students, but by artificial intelligence. And the biases, the data could include stereotypes or culturally insensitive language and independent skills. This is the last problem. It may harm problem-solving skills, critical thinking skills, and our students' creativity skills. And institutions should create AI guidelines in terms of scientific research, in terms of using in teaching, in terms of assessment and evaluation, and in terms of learning a language. Also, we need guidelines for teachers, for learners, for administrators, for policy makers, and we should use a human-centered approach. We should create a balance. Actually, I listed 5 key implications for practice. On the other hand, these items were listed in the previous session. And also, it is, in my opinion, it is too early to talk about the future of language education regarding artificial intelligence. We will see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aydin. I think that this was a very good start because we wanted to say something about your definition of technology, something that is coming here just to solve a concrete problem, and then AI is not technology. I think we can talk about that later. And now we are going to, let's move to another perspective concerning translation training with Dr. Giselle Spiretti.
Yes, I like his concept of, this invisibility, maybe, unperceived presence, the idea that it's seamlessly blended. But I think that this is also why we're here, no? I mean, yes, maybe we'll get to the point where the hype will will kind of, can you hear me? Yes. When the hype will kind of die down, but I think as academics, as trainers, it's our responsibility, to actually carry out research, to kind of co-drive and co-pilot, because otherwise the industry is going to lead the way, and we need to be there, present, kind of there to try to, I don't know what you think about this, but yes, for the time being, I think it's a bit difficult for it to be an unperceived presence, an invisible presence. I think even what Dr. Calvo-Ferrer, I think we're going to focus a little bit more on translation training, and the implications on our role as trainers. I think we have mixed backgrounds here, like language learning focus and also translation training. I can bring my experience as a translator training and also as a person who is involved in curriculum design. So the viewpoints I can have 3 viewpoints as a translator trainer. AI as a threat, then AI as a challenge, and AI as an opportunity. Maybe we start with the more negative thing in the spectrum, but I think we also need to acknowledge the potential risks. And in Spanish, they said the word before, amenaza. It was amenaza, yes, a word that was used quite a bit. I guess you're all familiar with Microsoft's high-risk job list. No, that was published in July 2025. The 40 jobs, mostly like high at risk. And guess what number 1 is on the list? Translators and interpreters. Okay, followed by historians. There were writers and proofreaders, so language-related. Okay, so it's not just us translators. Okay, even language people are involved as well. Even though it's very much merged now. In fact, the term linguist is being used as the trendy term to say translator. When you go look for a job as a translator, now they are listed mostly as linguists, So yeah, there are potential risks. I don't know about you at your universities, but for instance, in our case, we saw a decrease in student enrollment in the language programs, Spanish, Italian, whatever it is, and then that has a direct repercussion on the translation programs, especially when they are postgraduate programs. There are programs that are closing down, there are fewer students, so we need to acknowledge this. I don't know whether you agree with me, but there could also be a false perception and misconception as well, maybe lack of information, because students might ask, why should I invest my time and energy in learning languages when I could earn more money as a YouTube or Instagram influencer? So I don't know how your students in Alicante maybe perceive.
I suppose this is like, and I don't know if you agree with me on that. I suppose that obviously the wow, yeah, there you go. Sort of like, as we usually mention, like the wow factor in terms of everyone turns to a new technology. But I would like to say that, and I think it's been made clear that from the very beginning, that this is a completely different technology. It's not like, I don't know, like video games or networks or et cetera. So, and regarding our students, I think that obviously when you see that your future employment, your future career is at stake, obviously that sort of like makes them really nervous, and there's of course a very strong reluctancy at the beginning, but I suppose that it requests training, and I think that my colleague and localizer Ramon Mendez was mentioning earlier in a previous.
He was the Almenaza guy.
Yeah. Okay.
He was using it.
So yeah, that's. I think that's. Of course, there's a new technology, and there's always a threat if you do not know which way to go. But I would say that it's just like a shifting paradigm, and how translation, for example, and education as well is going to change. So.
But you said if you don't know which way to go. So I don't know about your students, but my students generally they enroll in translation course, and then they tell us we didn't expect this. Like translation is way more than we thought. So this could there be like lack of information, even the way we are presenting our courses? even using maybe obsolete terminology now. Maybe we need to refresh the terminology we use, you know, and reshape our courses and even perhaps do a bit of curriculum design and use different terms that reflect the market demands and the skills and competencies that are being required. I don't know, just a thought. We're doing this right now. We're reshaping, rethinking, but we're rethinking also the ways in which we present language learning and translation and its broader, let's say, array of professional profiles that are emerging. I don't want to hog the discussion.
I think we should follow a systematic approach. And we should follow a systematic approach. At the beginning, I don't think that the paradigm shift may occur in the field of education, specifically in language education, and I have no idea about translation. But when we consider the paradigm, actually, first we should focus on our aim. In the second step, we should focus on our procedures, techniques, etc. And also in this stage, we should also focus on the tools we use in the classroom. In the classroom, for example, while teaching vocabulary, we can use a flashcard. It is quite simple and quite efficient. Or we can use an AI tool to improve our students' writing abilities. And this is not enough. At the end of the process, actually, we should scientifically measure the effectiveness of our teaching or the learning levels of the students, of the effectiveness of the tool we use. So, common sense products may not reflect the actual situation. Instead, I always underline that we should follow systematic approaches, and for this, to answer all of these questions, we need to carry out research. Yes.
So you
this
agree
is my
with what I
final
said?
point, yes.
I'm going to be the... Okay, sorry.
So you are talking about adaptation all the time, right? We need to adapt. Maybe our studies, our institutions, teachers should adapt to this situation. But what goes first? Mm-hmm. And you know, when working at universities, everything is so slow.
Slow, yes. Mm-hmm.
So we are lagging behind the market.
That's true as well for research, no? Because he's mentioning all the systematic research. Now, if it takes a year and a half to publish a paper, and once the paper is out, the results and findings are already kind of obsolete because the technology went beyond. So, could it be that we need, like, to start aligning, like, time frames and speed and pay? Because the technology providers are going, at this speed. And academia, okay, we're doing our best, within the limitations, but we're going to lag behind unless, we kind of... And I believe we need a close dialogue with the industry stakeholders to understand what are the emerging professional roles, what are the skills and competencies that are needed, so that then we can reshape our training to make sure that the students have this broader skill set that meets the market demands. And there's sometimes a gap, no? In
But this adaptation, this gap, how can we...
It's not easy because it requires training for trainers as well. For us, it's a challenge too.
Yeah. I was saying that, just like, when is this just like going to go into the classroom? It's, I don't know, just like, the policy making, just like within institutions, it's really slow. And then I'd say we can always jump on bandwagon, just like if there's a new technology, and then just systematically adopt it, because it might prove, I don't know, like social networking, as I was saying, video games, etc. Lots of different AR, VR, lots of different technologies, and then they may take a different path, and then there's, of course, always, as I'm saying, there's a reluctance, but then, and I think that's key as well, just like we need to be trained first before we input that into the classroom, because the issue is we do not know how to use it. We're still amazed and saying, wow, and we're still, we're still wow in that. So how are we going to teach our students? How are we going to do these? That's a question.
No, but that's a real challenge, because sometimes we might not have kind of the skills ourselves to teach those skills that are now needed, no? So this is something that I think the field needs to address. What about the trainers, not only about the learners? I don't know, can I be a bit the devil's advocate? Yeah. This is just my opinion, but I believe very much. I love technology. I'm a tech girl, okay? I love technology. I like embracing technology. But at the same time, I'm realizing that, for instance, in order to train a translator to be, I don't like using the word good translator, allow me to use good translator, okay, for now. I still think that we need to adopt all the traditional, foundational kind of know-how didactic processes. I like kind of resisting technology in a way, not resisting it for a didactic purpose, as in adding some cognitive friction. So for instance, I've noticed if my students use immediately subtitling automated tools with the, you get the, and then I tell them, okay, now evaluate it, decide whether you'll validate that solution or else change it, they tend to have a really, really high tolerance threshold. So maybe adding that kind of resistance, cognitive friction. So no, first you do it yourself, okay? Maybe you'll never do that in your career, okay, when you're working, but kind of just for a didactic process. First you need to learn how to be a translator yourself, to then acquire the skills to be able to validate, to review, to edit. So I really believe in this resistance and cognitive friction, but only for training and didactic purposes. Is it something that you can
Actually,
relate to?
in addition to cognition, we add the emotion, and we add the linguistic capacity at the same time. And we should add the social skills. It should contribute to our learners' cognitive development. I had a student in my department. He said that I used 2 years for designing my writing assignment, and my teacher never understood that I used AI. That is because my teacher was not aware of artificial intelligence. So I really had good marks, better scores in my papers, but at the end I understood that I cannot write anymore. So it means that actually over-reliance on technology, it may metaverse, it may artificial intelligence, or it may something else, may harm our cognition.
So you agree that kind of maybe we can delay, cultivate tool proficiency, but first we go kind of traditional, and then maybe we integrated slightly.
No, I was sorry, Giselle. I was thinking about that. As we say in Spanish, that's opening.
Sorry, no pressure.
No, no, I was thinking that's opening, like with all those cognitive skills. That's opening to and talking about addressing the I don't know if to call it elephant in the room, but just it's a big thing, like we say in Spain. It's like opening a big drawer. It's like opening a big melon. We say that in Spain. Yeah, it's just to tackle a big issue. It certainly changes things, like in the pandemic. It's just we know that we cannot do things that we did before the pandemic because I don't know. I think we managed time better than we used to do. Just there were lots of meetings and just
meetings.
But before that, you say if you can do something online, you just don't do it anymore. And even just in this conference, just people used to attend conference in person, but there's nowadays just even though you tell in-person conference, thank you very much for being here again, you still get people just sending emails can I do this virtually, etc., etc.
And increase our cognitive load, indeed. Yes, we felt more tired when we compare our physical activities.
Yes, but at least they're human, even the people online.
And be happy after running 10 kilometers, but dealing with computer 2 hours really may harm our cognition.
There's obviously a cognitive load, etc. And then, that's something completely off topic, but just dealing and having to do with technology, and that's the basis of these theory of the digital natives, digital immigrants, and neuroplasticity, etc., etc. But of course, at least if we do not want to call it cognition itself, but attitudes, it does change attitudes completely. And then things, well, you were saying about it like using AI assistants. It's not that, because it's absolutely new. Just like, I mean, it was like 3 years ago, just like that it came out.
So, for example, as a scholar studying on gamification, can you compare artificial intelligence and metaverse, for example? Metaverse, for example, a very, very popular one in a few years ago. But today, we never talk about it, and there is any new study about metaverse.
Okay.
Declined.
I know. That's actually one of the technologies I was thinking about, just like the metaverse and Zuckerberg, etc. And I have different reasons to believe. Well, mainly, if I may, it was expensive and it wasn't funny. So so it was just like being in an open space and just like doing exactly the same things that you could do in real life. So it was like meeting these people here, these good people virtually, and just like with
as a sample, for example, Second Life.
Yeah.
Can be considered. Actually, it is a real world. There are real people. However, we suffer from the lack of certain emotions. We see people, however, we do not feel happy while we're interacting or communicating with the people in the Second Life.
And also, absolutely, I agree with that. That's a very important component about just like something that was very much disliked during the pandemic. Okay, just like not being able to be with people. Sorry. I'm tired. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, but the thing is, I lost track. Sorry. Yeah, that it is very important to be with people, but with these metaverse, the problem is that you need wearables. It is an expensive technology. Second Life wasn't so expensive.
Second Life is free.
Yeah, so I think that might have made the difference because Second Life had a just like longer lifespan, right? So
yes.
I think that's okay.
Okay, what about emotions? You mentioned emotions. You know that sometimes we speak with ChatGPT and then we can receive certain comfort when talking
Actually,
to that,
yes.
and some ideas also.
Within the scope of research, actually, studies mainly focused on cognition at the beginning. And then some scholars studied emotions, but they were all negative emotions. First, and for most subject matter was anxiety. And during 1980s, Mr. Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, proposed a model. It is called positive psychology. According to positive psychology, actually, there are certain criteria to feel good. And in one of my papers, I adapted this model to foreign language learning. At the beginning, I think, in terms of emotions, we need to experience positive emotions. For this, we need engagement. Our students would be happy while dealing a reading activity, for example, or a writing activity. And also collaboration. The third stage, relationships should be good between students and teachers, among students. And there must be a meaning of all activities what we do in our life, in our daily life or in the classroom. For example, I am reading a passage. I should ask this question, why am I reading this one? And the teacher should give a reasonable answer for this. A general question, why should I learn English, for example? This is the most frequent question I heard millions of times in the classrooms. So I should give some reasonable things to students why they need to learn English. And achievement, accomplishment is important. A small or a big achievement can motivate the learners. And additionally, I added two dimensions to this model. First one is cultural sensitivity, and the other one, the holistic approach. We should see the language learning and teaching in a holistic way. And within the framework of these items, actually, when our students come to classroom, actually they feel they should have positive emotions, they should engage in the activities, they should have good relationships in the classrooms, and they should find a meaning in their learning adventure, and finally, they should achieve what they learn or what they try to learn.
Salam, in fact, you mentioned cultural sensitivity. It is actually one of the skills and requisites that is appearing in many linguists' job descriptions. So even tech providers that are employing linguists, cultural sensitivity is actually always like on top of the list. So that's very interesting. But sorry if, I promise I'm not a negative person, but I would, yes, I'm going to play devil's, I mean, it's a round table, right? So, yes, engagement and student and everything. The first challenge I think we need to address is we need to make sure that we will have students in class who actually enroll to the courses to learn. So before, okay, they are there, we employ AI in our language learning, we need to study effectiveness and we need to motivate them. But what are we going to do before that to ensure that we keep having students who enroll in language courses, in translation courses? What can we do as academics, as trainers? This is my question to you, to people in the audience, because I think we're in a moment where we have to brainstorm. How do we adapt, but how do we inform as well? So there are so many opportunities out there. AI is also an opportunity. There are new jobs, new professional profiles, but the students don't know. So how do you attract them? First, we need to inform that studying languages and translation can lead you to doing this, not just, I don't know, you become a language teacher or a translator. And from my personal experience, people are not aware. Potential students are not aware.
I'd say, I don't know, this is a bit like when you fall off a bike, and now you take a tumble, and then you say, what happened? So I think within that process, which is like we need to
give bikes for free so that they try them out.
we need to like say where we are and then act. But obviously, and that's a very important thing that everyone, and students, and that's our main role. We need to, that's on the table, but we need to show students that they need to know the skills, and then maybe if they want to take advantage of programs, technology, to do it faster, to do it, I don't know, in a more, I don't know, not even reliable way, but just like in a different way.
We need to change our skills as trainers, and also for students. Everything has to change then, because there is a change in paradigm. I don't know if you have any comments, any questions you want to add?
I like to think that in this discussion, when we think of this as a race against the technology, we are getting the wrong focus, I think. Kasparov lost against Deep Blue 20 years ago. That race has been lost from the very beginning. If I see technology as a set of tools that will allow me to do a set of things faster and more efficiently, there will always come a time when a device will emerge that will do those things faster and more efficiently than me. So I need to recover what higher education actually means, and it means personal growth. I would like to quote someone very big, but I can quote one of my students who we actually interviewed discussing this thing about technology, and she said, the thing I hate when I see that my classmates cheat and present something, that they generated with AI, is basically that you can see it's not them. You can see it, it's not them. They're saying the same things that everybody would say using they are not. It's not them. And this is what I think we should recover for higher education. This is about personal growth, about being an individual who interacts with other individuals in a creative way. And we need to recover, particularly in the humanities, I think. I know that translators are at risk. Okay, so are surgeons, I guess, and financial analysts. You know, there are machines that can process masses of data much faster and much more efficiently, or they will appear at some point anyway. So we need to change the focus, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, I wanted you, well, when he was talking about cheating, my question to myself is, are they really cheating? Or, in other words, where does it say that they are cheating when they're using AI in order to do some tasks that we have asked them to do? Because in no didactic guide says anything, at least in our university teacher training, well, my faculty at least, there's no way in the didactic guide where it says, this is cheating. It mentions plagiarism, but this is not plagiarism, this is something else. So where does it say that they are cheating? They're just using another tool as a dictionary to help themselves to do something. We don't agree with that. So when you were talking, for example, that the technology goes very fast and we are a bit behind, there are regulations there. Because that's what I think university from top-bottom, from top to bottom, I mean from the top authorities of university to the bottom, which are us, teachers, should they start putting some regulations that said, okay, this is cheating, or you can, on how to use that, or teach us how to use that, teach our students how to use that, or where are the limits? To put up some kind of framework, because it is true that it goes so fast that the legislation is right behind academia even. So are they really cheating? That was my question.
So there, you were asking about creativity. We need to stay in that, line. You about cheating. Are we cheating when we are producing exercises for them, for example? And you wanted to say something? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Well, again, thanks to all of you. I'm trying to just not to say too much about that. That was my idea, actually, to have all this conference about that. I was talking even today. And I can tell you that some of the journalists and the media here in Alicante, they were calling me, and it was always the same question. It's like the negative impact of AI all the time and all those kind of things. It's very difficult, actually, to do that. I would like just to show you, take you 2-3 minutes. I may need to use the computer 1-2 minutes. Is that okay for you? Dr. Vargas, can I do that? Because I was going to ask them, and that's a very good example, which is trying to be on the practical side. As I said yesterday, when we were talking about all these different tools that they can help you, like Research Rabbit and Aside and Perplexity and so on. We have some of them that I'm actually using with some of my students, some of them here. So just give me a second. And I'll ask you if you know that. Then you please raise your hand. You'll say, yes, I know. Maybe some of you already know, some of you don't. The first one is called TWI. How many of you actually know you've used TWI? Right? Hands up. Just look around. My students here, they probably know it. Okay, this one here. Okay. This, in fact, is a very good AI tool. Used to be free. Now it's freemium, as usual. So you have limitations. But you can use that to transform many different things. Imagine you have a video and you want just to transcribe it and prepare different questions and things like that. That's really very good. There's different options here. And it gives you like different skills like reading, listening, speaking activities. Okay, so you can actually use them and somehow you can customize your lessons. And I always tell my students, the easy way to do that is you take the typical book and you say, listening 5, page 4. Right? But there is no special interest there, okay? Because that's actually what they're telling you. This is one of them. There's another one that it's called Curipod, and I don't know if you this one. Now, the interesting thing, how many of you actually used, Curipod? All right, and let me just scroll down. This one here, for example, Curipod and Almanac as well, they can create curriculum, you give them the prompts and so on, and they have like different options. Some of them actually come with a chatbot. So you can like ChatGPT. I want to avoid ChatGPT because every time I'm also talking about chat, I don't know how many times I actually talk about ChatGPT in the last 2 weeks, 2 days. But there are many other options I said before. Hundreds of them, okay, hundreds of them. There is one that I like particularly, which is Diffit. And I don't know how many of you actually use Diffit. Very good, actually, so that's good. Some of my students actually use this one here. Why it's interesting about this one here, again, all of them are AI tools just to create, for example, materials. Now, this one is good because if you create something, you're teaching your teachers, and I saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I can tell I was very nervous about that because I was teaching online, and that's a very different story. Like teaching face-to-face and teaching online has nothing to do. And just the main challenge is just to get students engaged while you're teaching online. That's very difficult. And I saw that sometimes students with special needs, all types of needs, right? Autism, Down, and so on, they were just left behind. Because some teachers actually were using the typical PowerPoint or the PDF, and lecture-based, blah, 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 and so on. And it was terrible when I saw some of the people just doing that because they don't actually care about the student needs and the differences. This one, for example, it's a great AI tool where you can create a material and there's like access to different types of special needs. So you say, okay, I have students, for example, with ADHD. Or I have students with, and can you just help me build? And they will instantly customize. They will just change the format, the style, the colors, everything. So all these kind of like technological tools, right? Magic School AI, for example, and I have one of you probably, some of you know. So actually some of my students actually do so this around here. Most of them actually, they use them. And I go to many places like the Czech Republic, Poland, and so on every year for teacher training sessions about that, so teaching my colleagues. But the truth is that some of the students that you see, the younger generations, as some of them before were saying, they already know all these tools. They don't talk too much about ChatGPT. It's like Kahoot, right? I tell Kahoot, this is Jose, that's what I did when I was in high school, right? We have Nearpod, we have many other options. So again, this is, very different. And I think this is the lesson probably. Just try to use all these different options and explore them from a critical perspective, of course. We don't say that they're great. We know the pros and the cons. That's our role as teachers, just to know the differences and say, this is a good one for this or for that and so on. That's our role, what I believe. Thank you.
Maybe you want to answer one of the questions here about, for example, this one about cheating. What do you think about that? Because sometimes I think about that. I think, am I cheating with this? I'm improving my, my lessons, my exercises.
I think it is cheating if you want to overcome the teacher or to you want to take
shortcuts.
Yeah, you want to take a shortcut. Yeah, but I think otherwise it's just like maybe speeding up a certain process. And I do not really see it as cheating, but I think it's cheating, and more than cheating, it's actually stupid if you do something that you should know how to do it by yourself, but then you're using the machine to do it for you, and then for you're not learning, and then you're trying to make other people think that you do know how to.
So you are talking about efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Using this sort of
technology. Could it be that our students are very goal-oriented? I like what he shared. Like maybe we need to start like putting focus on the process of learning, on the journey. I mean, you see the difference, no? I've got students who come here and they're evidently there for the certificate at the end, no? And so they take any shortcut. And then there are others who are there for actually, the learning journey. So maybe we need to find a way to really put value there in the act of learning rather than to obtain the, there are those typical students who, the very first day, as soon as you walk in, day one, what's the assessment? Dr. Peter Imijan, like assessment, like, hello, how are you? Like, who are you? And they're immediately the final mark. So I really like what he shared. It reminds me a bit of kind of those core values and those universal, like authenticity, even agency, accountability, Maybe we need to start like focusing a lot on these values and integrate them in kind of giving this reason to students. Why are you here? You know, giving them reasons beyond the end.
Is this black or white? I mean, human values stay first, and then we don't mix these values with
Yes, about values.
artificial intelligence.
Well, creativity, the definition of creativity from a philosophical and psychological perspective has a set of, you know, creativity is this, it needs to be an innovation, an original thing, not copied from. And one of the elements that constitutes the traditional definition of creativity is agency. And so far, scholars have said, I don't think we can consider whatever AI generates as creative because we have this missing element, you know, the agency.
Actually, yes.
Who is responsible?
Do you think that our students did not cheat before artificial intelligence?
Yes, of course. That's
And they did. Means that it is only a tool. Once one of my MA students submitted a paper during the Google time around 10 years ago, and there was a sentence, there was a statement in the text, click here to go further, for example. She copied and pasted, and she thought it is over, it is okay. I think, yes, we could...
there are cultural issues there as well. In
Yes.
some cultures, what
it is
in
quite
maybe
common.
Western Europe we consider as plagiarism is not necessarily considered as plagiarism. So we need to see also different cultural perspectives.
Yes, values should be acquired during the early childhood. This is my point, actually. Yes, cheating is very common in Turkey. The only purpose is to get a diploma or achieving the examination. That is it. Learning, it is not important. I can learn after my graduation. Mostly, some students think in this way. A balance between achievement and learning. Yes. For this, we need to motivate. We should be good models, and we should be professional.
And know how to market our academic programs.
Thank you.
I think just like it might be an optimistic view, but just like no matter just like how further or how far, or how much technology goes, there will be always someone needed just like to make it run and make sure it works properly and just like know the foundations of what's behind that technology. I don't know, I liken it to, I don't know, just like a statistical programs. Like I can barely use SPSS, just like statistical, just like do my 3-4 things. But then I do not know, I know how to input the data, to like read the outcome, but I do not know any of the maths, just like behind that. But there must be someone who does, and then it might not be, so it's making my life easier, just like being able to use that technology. But it doesn't mean that, I don't know, just like some careers just evolved into something else. And
like knowing what you need to know.
Yeah. So it's like when a
Redirecting your energy and focus.
It's like when a child comes up to you and says, I don't know, can you teach me how to use these AI or whatever? I say, no. To like, I mean, you learn that first, you learn that by yourself, and then that's it. That's what I say about cheating and
I don't know if you have any other question or comments. Anyone wants to participate? We don't have time, so we need to finish, right? Yeah? So I think we are not going to solve anything today. So thank you very much for being here and for your